Yeah, so morning everyone. Like introduced myself this morning. My name's Aiden. I'm a technical delivery analyst in the data governance team. But just to give you a bit of insight of where I've come from and how I got to where I am today. So like yourselves, I was a student at the University of Wales, St David's in Swansea. Promote. So I started there on the BEng Systems Electronics degree, but they then brought in the Masters for Applied Environmental Engineering. So I kind of traded in graduating on my third year for then graduating on my fourth year for the Masters. So I did an undergraduate Masters. That involved looking at acid mine drainage. So that was kind of my first insight into the water industry. So it was there is actually three of us, but poor Ishmael got cut out on the picture because I couldn't fit him in. But the three of us worked together on a dissertation. We looked at acid mine drainage in a mine that overflowed a couple of years before that, and we looked at water treatment techniques. We looked at sustainable energy, so how we could power a water treatment process with sustainable energy. And then we also looked at some sort of microcontrollers and to bring that electronics side into the degree then. So that was great, and that kind of got me thinking maybe I do want to look at the water industry for a career. Shortly after that, I was lucky enough to be employed by EPWales, who were a contract partner for Welsh Water at the time. So they predominantly work in water conservation. So a lot of what they were doing at the time was looking at how they can help customers save water at home with products, with training, with advice and solutions. But then they brought me in a capacity to be a contract partner with Welsh Water. So you can imagine with the network that we have providing you all with clean water, we need to understand where that water's going and how it's performing. So one of the things that we all know in the industry is if we're having problems, you lose pressure. So a project I was involved with was identifying parts of the network where we could put data loggers so it would capture that pressure information, tell us when we have a problem, and alarm into our smart hub then, which helps dispatch all the emergency teams when they're needed. So that was a great little project to get started, and there's me and my little cat and gown. Then in 2019, I love morph transitions. Thank you. So then, lucky enough, working with the people that I did in Welsh Water in EPWales, I was lucky enough to find a position internally. So I was then employed to the leakage team. So leakage, I'm sure as Steve mentioned early on in the morning, leakage is quite a big topic. So I was in the team that's responsible for detecting leaks, finding them, reporting them, fixing them, and bringing those leakage numbers down, so not losing all the water out of our pipes. But again, my role was predominantly on the kind of data loggers, the data capture, understanding where all the water is and how it looks on graphs, and reporting that back to my superiors. Another thing I'm quite passionate about, which I'm really happy that Welsh Water supports colleagues with, is well-being. So I'm a well-being champion, which is why I've got all these badges on my badge. So I was trained in STRAW, which is Strength, Resilience at Work training. So I've had formal training for 2 days where we all kind of workshopped on how we can better support our colleagues with their mental health, have discussions, be open about it, and kind of bring down that stigma. So that's something that's been very heavily supported for me through my career in Welsh Water. I've been able to do talks. That first picture there is when we all first started working from home with COVID. So that was quite a big transition to do there. Again, that's probably where one of my wellbeing training sessions that I did. I've had opportunities to go to schools and universities to share my stories, much like I'm doing for you all this morning. And yeah, it's been great since day one. Move on to 2021. I'm now working with Justin in the data governance team. Got a chance to have that internal promotion. Yeah, so data governance, looking at the way we manage our data across the organisation. I'm sure maybe you've all heard statements like data is the new oil, and sorts of those big flashy statements. But you know, at the end of the day, we are a very data-driven company. You know, for us to know where our water's going, how we're performing in waste, you know, a lot of the things you look at in the company, it comes back to data. So data governance is responsible for helping us manage that data better, so we can get the best outcomes out of our data and make sure that we're delivering the right truths and the right insights where we can. And then another thing I did then was working on an out-of-hours basis with the Swansea area. So you can imagine the Swansea catchment area. When we all go to bed, the water's still running. In the early hours of the morning, the water's still there. So whenever there was issues, out of hours, out of the usual working day, you know, people like myself on the end of the phone, working with our inspectors on the ground, our smarter processing our own alarms, working with our more technical supervisors then, if we have bigger issues or bigger incidents. Sometimes it would involve going to the Clydach depot, like Steve mentioned earlier, to kind of collaborate and get in and get ahead of these issues. You know, we want to make sure that we restore customer supply, because customers are at the heart of everything we do. So that was really interesting, got a lot of experience in that position. Very demanding position, it can get quite intense when you're up at 4 AM in the morning trying to find out where water is shooting out the ground, and speaking to the likes of Steve and his team to make sure the customers are put back into supply as soon as we can. But yeah, wealth of experience from my time there. And just cap it off to where I am today. Again, I've had plenty of opportunities. I got to go to London not long ago to a convention called Big Data, so that was a room full of data geeks like myself, all getting excited about data and governance and engineering and anything. AI, obviously a huge topic right now, so you know, us as a company are also starting to look into that and what that could hold for us. Hoping now just to continue to develop my skills, get involved in such things like the Institute of Water, do some professional development, get out there, network and meet people across the business and share my experiences in a platform like this today. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell.